Welcome to be the product, man.
Thanks.
You are the product. Did you know that?
I'm the product of my. I would say I'm the product of a good leader who makes the team.
I love that.
Team as long as I'm a good leader. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we're sitting here with Freddy Johnson, owner of Prestige Construction, as well as he has his own podcast called Freddy J.
The Freddy J Show.
The Freddy J Show.
Yep.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the fucking hours it takes to get some power. Don't be fucking sour, take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder, work until you're prouder. And fuck all the doubters, they're just fucking downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm pissed off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.
So we're here. We're in Salt Lake City. We just went to this big conference yesterday. It's called
freaking great, was it not?
It's fucking unbelievable.
Amazing.
And this was just one example of the connections that we met. We just sat at the lunch table with him and got to talking, and super cool dude. And he was like, "You want to shoot a fucking podcast?" We're like, "Fuck yeah!"
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, why fucking not? I mean, I'm up here in the morning after. Why wouldn't we shoot a podcast? So
yeah.
That's how I think that any good entrepreneur is. If they can make a decision quick and act on it, then you know if you made a bad decision sooner, right?
Yeah,
right.
for sure.
So, like, the faster you can fail to what you're trying to do, then the faster you're going to get to where you're trying to go. Because if you sit there and whatever's gonna, if something's going to work and both of you can do it, why wouldn't you do it? You know?
Absolutely, 100%.
Absolutely.
To give the viewers some context, we're sitting here on his job site. This is what him and his team are building behind him.
Yeah.
And you want to let us know, how did you get into this? Like, what started, what flipped? You wanted to start your own thing and build a team.
Yeah, so when I was about 14, 15 years old, then I came from, so originally I was born and raised in a cult in southern Utah, and I was of a family of 36. I was raised in a family of 36 children, 4 moms, and when I was 6, then my dad got told to leave town, so my mom, like that same couple days, was remarried to a new dude, and I had a new dad in like just very soon after my dad was sent. So I from there was in a family of over 100 kids.
Wow.
With like 23 moms in my step family, and it was kind of crazy background. And then when I was 15, then that family was split up again, and my mom went to work or to live with my uncle. My uncle kind of helped her into an apartment, but us boys, I'm the oldest of my mom's kids, and me and my little bros would after school go work for my uncle when I was just a young teenager on his construction jobs. We'd go work and help him do little tasks here and there after school. And so originally where like it clicked for me is one Saturday we was working, we would on the weekend sometimes, and we would go to people's cabins because it was up on a mountain where everybody's houses were their secondary houses, most of them. And so it was all wealthy people from like Vegas and California. And it's like Cedar Mountain is where it is. It's up above Cedar City, which is southern Utah. By Brian Head Ski Resort. And we would go to their houses and we would split their big round logs into split wood. And I remember, and we'd use my uncle's splitter. We'd take our vehicle up there, and then he would drop the splitter off and we'd split wood on Saturday. And I remember thinking, why is my mom and all my brothers and sisters out here doing this stuff to even live? Like, this sucks, you know?
Right.
And I just had this internal just longing to be a part of something bigger. Just, I wanted to do something myself. Like, I've always been the type to put shit together, to build shit. And so even at that moment, I remember thinking, all I want is this little rice burner truck with a little log splitter to pull behind it, and I'll show up to people's house and I'll fucking split their wood and I'll make fucking shitloads of money, you know? So I had this idea inside of my head, this is how I'm gonna start it and this is what I'm gonna do. And at the time that I had this little business that I had going too, where I would take the scraps, because we would build antique furniture for like cool wood furniture for these cabins. We would build that for my uncle in his shop too, and I would help him do that. And so there was always little chunks, and I would go cut these chunks up, sand them up, polish them, and then I'd sell them to the hardware store there. I'd make a couple bucks on the side. Just little hustler from the very beginning. Always been just hustling to get an extra money here, and just wanted to build shit, wanted to do shit with my hands too. And fast forward about 4 years, then I was working for a construction company doing steel erection, the same stuff. And I just have always had that bug inside me. Like, I want to own my business and push that shit. You know?
You want more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I worked on and off for a couple of different companies for about 2 years, and then quit. I had bought a truck, a full-size truck by that time, financed a trailer, financed a truck, and I had about $6,000 saved up. And I'm like, I have $6,000, dude. I'm gonna save this shit. I could go build something with $6,000. And I didn't have any tools to start. We started in the residential, started kind of in the same shit that my uncle used to do, doing siding, soffit, staining, roofs, interiors, trim, all like residential stuff. And so I went and bought a couple tools, enough to do this one job that we had. And my cousin actually had got the job, one of the first jobs that we did, and then we had another job that was like a restaining, refinishing job, interior little job. And I remember I bought a 50-foot extension cord because the 100-footers were about $40 more. And I was trying to save $40, and I only needed 50 feet to do the job that I was doing at the time. Nowadays, like, you know, I'll buy a 100-foot extension cord because I need a 100-foot extension cord.
Exactly.
I don't buy 50-foot extension cords, but that's what it started out being. You know, I got a 50-foot extension cord because that's all I could get and make it work. And so we bought the bare minimum tools that we needed, and we got started on this little job, and the other job that was up on the mountain. Then I had $4,000 left. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm already started on my first job, and I still have $4,000. And then I was thinking, actually, where are we gonna stay? Where to stay? We were like 2 hours from home, so I'm like, well, all right, we gotta find somewhere to stay. So I ended up buying a camp trailer for like $4,300, and I was dead broke. Dead broke, and I had a $1,000 credit card, and started from there, just dead ass broke with my first 2 jobs, and just started hustling like a sumbitch.
Absolutely.
It's funny, a lot of starting entrepreneurs always wonder, you know, how do I get from just me mowing the lawn or just me cutting the trim or whatever to hiring my first employee. Well, I started with 2 employees right out of the gate. That's the first thing. I had 2 employees. And we're a damn good team. We were all young. They were young, and we started hustling our asses off. We would work all during the week, and we would eventually we kind of got into the sequence where, like, we'd work from Monday through Friday night, sometimes or most of the time Saturday. And then what I would do is I'd drop the guys off, and then Saturday night I'd gather up some stuff, and I would have lined up some small jobs on Sunday. And I would go hustle my ass off on Sunday to make like $2,000 cash, so that I could pay payroll the next week to my 2 employees. And that's just how it started. It started with a hell of a lot of just grind in the front end. I've had people ask me all the time that are just barely starting their business, like, you know, what do I do? Like, how do I get this thing started? How do I make money? And I'm like, you've got to grind your ass off.
Yeah.
You have to work your ass
Yeah.
off. If you ain't fucking working your ass off in the beginning, you're not doing any good to, like, if you've got this big ass morning routine, all these things you're doing
Yeah.
to try to level yourself up and be this great something, and yet you're not working your ass off in your work to get a dollar, it ain't getting you anywhere.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I don't disagree with the working out and the morning routine. I motivate the guys to do that in my own team, but I'm saying in the beginning you have to hustle your ass off.
Yeah.
And that's what I did every weekend. I remember for like 2 months straight, I worked every single Sunday. I remember taking a Sunday off and being like, holy shit, it's been a minute since I took a Sunday off.
Yeah.
But I would work at Sunday morning, and what I'd do is I'd line up these jobs where it was a staining job where we would grind the deck surface on somebody's deck, and then we'd grind it back to new and then resurface it.
Yeah.
Well, I'd line up these little decks that I could do in one day and get the first coat on.
Yeah.
So what I'd used to do is that's like a Saturday night. Then I would grind the deck, blow it off, stain it, and then the next morning on Sunday, because you have to let it dry.
Yeah.
So the next morning or the next afternoon on Sunday, then I would come and brush the first coat or the second coat on the deck.
Yep.
And then the deck could be finished.
Right.
Most of the time, these
Right.
customers would hand me $100 bills for these weekend jobs.
Yeah.
And that's how it started, hustling my ass off in the beginning.
Absolutely. It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, there was a lot of sacrifice that went into it. You know, we're 21 and we're getting introduced to like the bar scene and going out. But it sounds like to be the entrepreneur, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into it. And you now are no longer distinguishing between weekends and weekdays. They're all the same. Every day's a work day for you because you have to prepare and you have to make something of yourself. You talked about, you were part of a cult.
Yeah.
Like you sacrificed that too.
Yeah. Well, a crazy side of that story, I mean, we could go on and on about the cult. There's so much.
Yeah.
I could do a 3-hour podcast talking about the details of growing up. But yeah, when I left in the beginning, the thing about the cult is that when you're in the cult, then if you leave, then your family disassociates you with you who's still in there.
Yeah.
Like you basically cut that off. You leave with the understanding that you're kind of done, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And my mom is the coolest mom ever. That was my original why.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why when I was talking about being there chopping the wood, I didn't want to see my mom out there chopping wood.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Like, I was
exactly.
doing this for her. Me and my little brother, we were hustling
Absolutely.
to keep my mom from having to do the work herself. And
Right.
she's a hard worker
Right.
already. That's where we get a lot of our work ethic. But I did everything in the beginning from my mom. I've only been out for about 4 years. My first 3.5 to 4 years was all for my mom. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny, people like talk about how they lived in their mom's basement. My mom lived in my house. Like, I supplied my mom with the house before I was
That's
20
cool.
years old.
But it's
Oh
the
my
reason
God.
why you get out of bed.
Yeah,
You have that
it was
why.
the reason.
Yeah.
And but when you leave that, then you leave with the understanding that you're going to leave family too.
Yeah.
And I legit had to, like, I weighed this out in my head. Okay, so I'm literally going to have to leave my mom and my little sister, because from my mom, there's 5 of us.
Yeah.
And all of us are out except for my mom and my little sister. And I'm like, I'm going to have to leave my mom and my little sister to pursue something bigger of my own life.
Yeah.
In reality, I wanted a family. Nobody was getting married.
Mm.
And inside the cult, nobody was getting married at the time. And even still, it's kind of all a big jumble. But that was the decision I had to make, was between my mom and my future family,
Right.
and whatever. And so that's what made the decision to leave that. And that alone is, like you're saying, it's a massive sacrifice to chase what
Right.
you want in life.
Yeah. No, so, I mean, I'm very unfamiliar with, like, being part of a cult, but are you isolated in that? Like, are you exposed to, like, the real world?
No.
So, you're telling me you took that leap of faith
Oh yeah.
with absolutely no outside world experience.
So the outside world experience that I did have, and that everybody has from there for the most part, is that they they work in the outside world, most of them, when they're in there, then they're working there, but most of it's for companies that are from there and in there, and there's a lot of success that comes out of there, actually. Massive success that comes out of there. But most of it is that they work for those companies, and everybody that worked for those companies at the time was also part of the cult. So even like you came home to a house where literally it was the TVs were covered legit, like you didn't get on television, or you weren't supposed to, I should say.
Yeah.
And it was driven to the young men that you shouldn't get on television ever. And when you're out in the outside world, like you should just be
working,
going down just your lane, you know, like that's what was driven
tunnel vision, right?
This. So it was like, it was very much isolated, and the way that they kept isolated with still working in the outside world was by you working for a company that was inside of there. And that's what most people did. Some people worked out of it, but very few. Most everybody worked inside of a company that was from there, and that's what kept it isolated. So the exposure to the world would be that, like, say we would come and build this job, say back then, and we would go to the crew house. Everybody at the crew house was from there, and then you ate lunch with everybody here on the job site from the cooks that cooked from the crew house from there. So everybody, you still were communicating with the same people. I hear all the time, actually, my accent. People are like, you know, where are you from? Your accent. Here in Utah, in northern Utah. And I'm like, I'm from southern Utah. And they're like, no, I know, but where did you come from? I'm like, from southern Utah. And they're like, but the accent comes from being in that tight knit community. So to answer your question, it was very much we very much grew inside of an internal, just everything was inside. And when I left, I knew the outside world. Obviously, it was, at the time, things had changed. There had become kind of a jumble inside of even the cult and stuff. The cult leader was put in prison. Like, it's kind of been all broken up, but so there was quite a bit of change that had come during the time, and so I'd been exposed to it even with running my company for 3 years. I mean, I've talked to people, but originally, legit, I never got on the internet until I was over 20 years old.
That's nuts.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
I legit, because when I lived the religion, I tell you, I lived the religion. Super hard. And so I abided by the rules. I didn't get on the internet. I just wouldn't ever get on the internet. Everything was over email that I did.
So it's kind of a blessing in disguise.
It is. It is.
You see a lot of kids nowadays, and you're hooked on your phone. You know, you went 21 years not worrying about that at all. And I'm sure nowadays, you know, you never went through a period where, you know, you're scrolling on social media, all of that stuff. You know, has that helped you at all? Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, then I get caught in those loops at times still, even to this day. I mean, I'm trying to build my personal brand and all that stuff, and I still get caught in those loops at times. But at the time, all I was doing was hustling. So very much that was the case. I would spend all of my time. So the way it became, because to do business, you kind of have to use the internet in some way, right? So they had a phone company that would actually connect to the internet themselves, and then they would give you out phones to where you could email, because email is obviously from the internet. So the phones that you connected with them could only email. And so we would email outside of that, and then also they had these people that would work as a third party to do like research if you needed it or anything. And at the time, then I had what we called them internet ladies. And that's what they would do. They would legit, that's all they do in their house for different companies inside of the religion. They would just sit there and just look up research on the internet. They would get this from point A to point B. They would just back and forth for whoever needed it inside the religion. And that's what I originally started doing when I started listening to podcasts and doing personal development. I either bought books, went to the bookstore and bought books and read books myself, or I bought DVDs. I still have a stack of DVDs that I actually just listen to DVDs in my truck. Because I didn't have the internet. I didn't go on the internet.
Just playing it in.
And then I've actually never talked about this shit. That's crazy. But I would go buy DVDs and I would play DVDs. I started by playing a lot of damn it, I forget his name. Not Jim Rohn, but the other original speaker. I'm trying to remember his name.
Oh.
I would buy their CDs from Barnes and Nobles.
Yep.
And then I'd play them in my truck. And then I also have my internet lady go download podcasts.
Okay. Yeah.
And then like download them off the internet, and then put them on a thumb drive, and then I take the thumb drive and listen to them.
Yeah.
But that's how it was growing up in it. Not everybody abided by the rules, but I abided by the rules when I was in it. And but I've always been interested in personal development. And you're right. I think it's cool that you bring that up. I think in the end, all of those experiences make us into who we are.
Absolutely.
You know? And maybe there was a lot of disadvantage from that, but there might have been even more advantage to not get involved in other crap.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
right.
Involved scrolling, getting distracted with everything else. I mean, I didn't even go on a date with any girl until I was like 23.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a crazy story. Would you say like growing up in that environment would help you build your team though? Because I feel like you're close knit. Like he said, I'm not very familiar with cults, but is it like a close knit environment with these people that you grew up with?
Yeah. In fact, everybody is. There's almost like, even to this day, from coming from where I came from, there's almost like cults inside of cults of close-knit friends.
Yeah.
It's like everybody kind of stays together. Like everybody wants to be a part of something.
It's like a
big.
clique.
Yeah. And so my team, the majority of my team is actually from there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And but we are all dang close.
Yeah.
We're dang close. And it's definitely, I think it has massively to do with our culture to this day. You know, and being raised in that, then you're raised to hustle your ass off. Like Saturdays, before I went to work for my uncle, Saturdays were all spent in building up other people in the community. Like everybody would come together on a Saturday and help somebody build their house or and hustle like crazy for free or for the community. Yeah. Or go weed a community garden or go plant trees in a big community orchard or whatever. And so us as young kids, from when I was a real youngster, we worked Saturdays. When I was growing up, when I was like from the age of 9 till I was 13, 14, I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and milk 3 cows at our barn. Yeah. we as youngsters, like we grew up, the community was like growing up on a farm kind of. Like you had responsibility and you were held to fulfill that responsibility for the most part. And obviously different families are different ways. Everybody has a different story from there. There's like several thousand people from there. And so there's a lot of different stories from people that have come out of there. Most of it honestly is dissolved now. Like the majority of people have left there. And so everybody has a different story. My story may not be somebody else's story. So like if you're listening to this podcast, then it's not like my story is everybody's story from there. But for the most part, that's how everybody was raised. Yeah. Is you're raised to get off your ass, go to work, hustle, and actually inside of the cult, you were also, the old people were taken care of by their kids. Yeah. There was no really retirement plan besides like what they called the storehouse that would take care of. Everybody would donate. It was really like, communism. A real cult is like communism. Like everybody dumps all the money into one place, and then the bishop divvies the money out to that. That's how it was inside of our cult. So it was a great way to literally help the community to stay together, because that everybody was out there hustling and they would turn their money in, and then the money would be used to help all the older people that couldn't work anymore, or help the people that were just lazy, honestly. There was some lazy too, you know, and it became that way as well. But if you were a worker, like I for the longest time, when I was a teenager out working on the job site, then from when I was 18, 19, then I would turn in $1,000 a month into that. Just, and that was like way more than 10% of what I was making at the time. And I turned in basically everything that I had extra, you know. So the culture definitely shaped much of who I am today.
And who you're going to be in the next 20, 50 years.
For sure. For sure, and being raised with that work ethic. I mean, my dad my biological dad hustled his ass off and still hustles his ass off.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, Dad, I don't know how freaking old he is. He's probably 70, 65, 70,
Yeah.
I don't know.
When's the last time you saw him?
3 weekends ago.
Okay.
He's out.
Okay.
He's
Yeah,
out now,
yeah.
too. So,
Nice.
but,
Right on.
yeah.
Well, I guess a common theme for the weekend for us has been like mentorship.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that everywhere you go, we're looking up to these guys at the Limitless Arena, and we're like mind blown being so
Starstruck.
close. And
Starstruck,
yeah,
right.
exactly. How would you say that like mentorship has helped you scale this business and like what you're trying to do?
Well, that's ironic as hell, because this job site actually that we're on right now, I've had Keaton as a mentor for 8 months now.
Yeah.
One-on-one mentor with him every 2 weeks. I go to his house or jump on a call with him, and we've been mentoring for 8 months now, and everything about the person you're mentoring with matters. If your mentor isn't a mentor that's also got mentors, or a mentor that's also working on himself, I think you're crazy. And I think that mentors is so damn important, whether that be just a virtual mentor. Like my mentors growing up were people on podcasts. Ed Milet's been my mentor since a long time. I listened to Ed Milet's podcast for years and years.
He was powerful yesterday.
Yeah.
The way he spoke was crazy.
But mentors has played a massive part. And what I was saying about this job site is that when I was mentoring with Keaton, and when I was bidding this job site, and we were like halfway between some numbers. We'd bid it for this certain number. Our bid came in higher than the budget that they had for the job, and I told them we have to be at this number. This is the lowest we possibly can come, and we were like 50,000 from each other on like
a large
$1 million
difference.
job.
Yeah.
We were like 50,000 to meeting to where we would get the job, and we needed the job for our schedule. Like we needed it right away so that we could work and keep the team busy, and meet our goals this year. And I sat down with Keaton. I'm like, I think I basically probably ain't gonna do that job, because we've had a hard time coming to the right number, and this is all they have in it, and we love them. Like the guys we're working with on this, the general contractors that we're working with on this are freaking awesome. And so we love working with them, but we can't really come to a number. And he's like, he asked me, how much are you gonna profit off this? And I told him, and he's like, so you're gonna walk away from all this money for this little sliver?
Yeah.
Like, get over your fucking self.
It's better than nothing.
When we get done with this.
Yeah.
And make a deal with him. So that's what I did. I got off the phone, and in 20 minutes, then we had verbally agreed on a number to it. And I was really just trying to not lose money, but at the end of the day, we wouldn't be on this job site, and we wouldn't even be close to making as much money as we're going to make this year without this job.
Yeah.
We've learned so dang much. We've added 5 guys to our team because of this job. We've grown so damn much. And so I say all that to say, this job, we're on this job, we're building this job, we're making money right now. Money is in my bank account, because at the end of the day, Keaton's like, you're a fucking idiot. Job. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, it was almost like a little bit of like, I just don't really want to move that much on my number. Anyway, so mentorship for me, man, it's even so much as my communicating skills, my ability to persuade and to talk to customers and to communicate with outside people, because for me that was one of my largest challenges coming from the place I came from. You were so isolated that you didn't just communicate with a lot of people outside of there. I had a hard time starting any conversation. I've gone to dozens and dozens of these networking or VIP events and conferences and all different kinds of stuff that I've invested into myself. And I just didn't really know how to start a conversation, or didn't really know how to communicate with people to bring value to them either,
Use that as leverage in a way.
And so with Keaton, all of that, I go to every single event Keaton throws, I'm there. All of the Limitless people know who I am. because I show up to everything. And I do that because that, number one, I believe 100% in Keaton and his mentorship. Straight up. I spend a lot of money to be mentored by Keaton, obviously. It's not cheap to be mentored by Keaton.
Right.
But if you ain't willing to invest in yourself, then you're never going to grow to the level you want to grow to if you have big goals. Now, if you want to be in the same place and just have a double wide trailer in a little trailer park and freaking go mow lawns with you and your son or you and your buddy for the rest of your life, great. Maybe you don't need a mentor.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're just gonna stall out, plateau your life, maybe you don't need a mentor.
Yeah.
You shouldn't go get a mentor. But if you're trying to level up your life and be something bigger, you absolutely need a mentor. You have to have a mentor. And like I say, with even free mentorship, even if you're at the very beginning, I started with not paying a dime for people's mentorship. By just listening to shitloads of podcasts on YouTube and repeatedly listening to the same podcasts and just reading people's books. Every time the people that I would listen to their podcasts would come out with a book or a booklet, like I would read that and I would study them. And so I've had a mentor. I've had mentors all my life. In fact, we all have mentors. We have a mentor in our own parents.
Right.
And that's what's wrong with so many of us, is that we have the wrong mentors. You know, like if you have parents that are pieces of shit and you're listening to what they say and doing what they say, then that's also a mentor. And you're fucking going nowhere because they ain't going nowhere.
Right.
So find the people that are going where you want to be, get around them, have them mentor you how to get there. And eventually you're going to level up to that.
How would you, or someone like us looking to get a mentor, how did you go about reaching out and finding that? I know we just joined Limitless Society, so we're part of that now. You know, was it as simple as just reaching out via social media, or were you just happen to get in the same room with them? Like, how would you, if we were to want to get a mentor, someone like Keaton, how would you go about that?
Yeah, I actually, so with Keaton, I didn't even know who Keaton was. When like I was saying before, coming from the religion, we didn't really watch TV shows, but the very popular TV show that Heavy D, Diesel Dave, and Keaton did, of the Diesel Brothers, I had no idea what that was. My cousin did. And one weekend, we were down about an hour and a half south of here, and we were working on a job, and he come walking up to me. It's on a Saturday. It's like mid-morning, like 11 o'clock actually. And he's like, dude, look at this. And he opens his Instagram and he shows me Keaton's post about how he had an event up here. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And he's like, yeah, Ed Milet's going to be to it. There's a party tonight where you can like buy in to get to the party. It's pretty cheap. It's like a $250 pre-night party where some of the speakers showed up, some celebrities showed up. But it was mostly just for the Limitless Society people. But if you wanted to just come and experience it, you could pay $250. Limitless Society was there for free. But the event the next day that Ed Milet was speaking at, there was a whole bunch of great speakers that were speaking on it the next day, and Keaton was there. Some of the people that I've had on my podcast were speaking on the stage, like Matt Minson. Chase Hoskins, I think, got on stage as well. Keaton was on stage. These different people, and I didn't even know all those guys. I was going for Ed Milet, and because I'd followed Ed Milet for a long time. He's gonna be in fucking Salt Lake. I'm going to it. And that was 2 years ago. And after that, then I had people walk up to me and be like, hey, you know, are you in Limitless? I'm like, what's Limitless? And they're like, oh, that's what this whole event is. I'm like, okay, I came for Ed Milet. That's the whole event. They're like, well, you should join Limitless. I'm like, all right, yeah, I've been to several conferences. People want me to join conferences. And eventually, I think one of the guys there got my phone number, and then his sales team reached out to me a couple times and said, hey, you know, I think you would be ideal for Keaton one-on-one mentorship. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. How much is it? And he tells me, I'm like, fuck, dude, that's a shitload of money.
Yeah, heart
To meet
sinks,
with Keaton
yeah.
for an hour.
Yeah.
And at the time, I honestly didn't value what mentors brought.
Right.
Yeah.
Really.
It's hard to.
It is
Yeah,
hard
you really don't know. You're pretty much, it's a blind payment if you don't.
100%, 100%. So at the time, I'm like, finally, he's like, here's the package deal, just go with the package deal. You should go with the package deal. I'm like, no. I don't fucking know Keaton. And here's one thing that I've lived to this day. One thing that I've always said and I always live to is, why the hell would you listen to somebody who ain't where you want to be?
Right.
Yeah.
And even as much as, I'm going to get a little distracted here, but 2 days ago, my fitness coach at the gym that I go to quit the gym, just randomly quit.
Oh boy.
And another coach called me and said, hey, I'm picking up all his clients. I'm like, well, number one, I don't know what you look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be rude, but if you're not fucking fit, then I won't fucking hire you.
Right.
Like, I won't be seen with somebody unfit teaching me how to get fit.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, why the
Right.
hell would you do that?
Obviously.
I'm like, and he's like, well, okay, here's my Instagram. And I go to his Instagram and he's fit. And so then I used it.
Yeah.
And so that's what it was with the first call with Keaton. I'm like, well, number one, I don't know Keaton. I
Yeah.
know he's kind of cool. And I started studying him when I went to buy the ticket. I went and started studying his life a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I kind of blindly just hired Keaton. And I showed up on the call. It was a Zoom call. I was down in Arizona. And we immediately started going through, a little bit of my background, kind of trying to get a feel for who I was, because he just won't hire you if you don't, or he won't mentor you if you don't.
Put in the work.
If you're not, yeah, like even if you pay him, he'll just give you your refund back and tell you to fuck off, basically.
Yeah.
If you ain't willing to go do the work, he don't want to mentor you.
You need
he
that,
wants
though.
to see the difference
Yeah.
happen in you. Like, why the fuck would he take your money to not have anything happen in your life if you
Right.
ain't doing anything?
It's also wasting his time.
He's literally told me more than once. He's like, dude, I barely wrote a dude a check for all the money back for like 6 months of mentoring because that they wouldn't do anything that I told them to do.
Yeah.
And they paid him the money, but if you ain't gonna do it, then why would he? So on his end, I think he liked it too because he wanted to see who I was. And then at the end of the call, he's like, dude, look, this is what I do. You're that business that's trying to go to the next level. You guys have been hustling like hell. This is what I think you guys should do.
Yeah.
You should, number one, these are the first things that I think you should do from this call, but I really think you should start mentoring with me.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, all right. Well, I said, I'm going out on a limb, but I trust you.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, trust me. Trust me. And the year before I started mentoring with him, we did 1.2 million.
Holy.
And this year we'll do over 5 million.
Damn.
Just in mentoring.
Well, and hustling.
company.
all the
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that-
that's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, I think we would have kept going, but number one, like I was saying earlier, we wouldn't have got this job right here.
Right.
This job is $1 million job for us.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a
We
4
were-
or 5x
Yeah.
your
I'm just
company.
saying-
You're not just like on one job 4 or 5xing, like you're 4 or 5xing your company through
Yeah,
investment
right.
with him. Like that's insane.
Yeah, no, like, and we have doubled in the past. We've doubled almost every year in the past, but we have struggled to go from that level of just the hustle to being organized inside the business
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And it takes a level of organization to get to that place where you can go to the next level, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're going from doing $1 million a year, you can do $1 million a year with hiring some employees and just hustling and
Right.
writing invoices and taking checks to the bank and stuff.
Right.
But you need systems and processes if you're going to go
Right.
to the next level. And that's what he's helped us do in
Yeah.
amazing ways. I've had several different resources that he's given me that I've used, and we've, like even our website, then we're used the guy he recommended for our website that also does his website.
Yeah.
Just different things that he's got, connections that he's got me from just knowing him, and yeah, just leveling up all together in my personal life, a lot of people are like, yeah, I just want to make more money. You seen the 5 pillars that they talked about on stage yesterday, and that's his main goal. I mean, even in my spiritual life, dude, like leaving the religion, you leave thinking, at least me, I'm like, fuck it all. I don't give a fuck. I believe in God, but and you I kind of would let my spiritual life and my connection with God go.
Yeah.
And now I'm in that process of bringing all that back together and just putting your whole life together. So, because if you watch Keaton, he's got God, family, his faith, his mental, and his financial. They're all there, you know, and that's why I hire him.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Reach out. There's a lot of people that offer mentoring, and I would say, like, even if you're a small entrepreneur or somebody that's in just barely, not even to your first 100,000.
Yeah.
There's people that are doing 2 million, $1 million, 3 million that can give you tips. You know, a lot of people will even give you free advice, and there's people that will willingly spend their time with you. Pay that there's mentors that do that much that you can hire mentors, you know. That's actually probably going to be a lot of my next process eventually, is becoming a mentor to many. But I think there's different levels of mentors, and to find a mentor, I think what I would say is look at their life first. Look deep into it. There's a lot of people I lucked out finding Keaton. But there's a lot of people that I even see now that I've done so much with Keaton and spend a lot of time with Keaton that do mentor and that do give advice. And you look at areas in their life that they claim are a certain way, and they're just not. They're just not.
Especially social media is very misleading. So you think that they have that picture perfect life that you want, but until you meet them and learn their true intentions. Like when he speaks on stage, you know that he cares. Like that's his whole thing with the Limitless. Like he's a very emotional, and he means what he says. And you can tell the people that, like, by their persona, how they talk, who actually mean it. You know what I mean? He's really good at showing his true intentions, especially when he's public speaking. Like, I don't know him personally, but when he was on stage, he did a really good job.
100%. And that's the thing, when he shows up to the house, or when you show up to his house, and when you get as close to him as I've got with, I mean, I'm at his house every couple of weeks, legit. And I'll go do extra stuff with him. If he throws the event, I show up to it. And so I've got to know Keaton really well. And now I know even a lot of, like, you watch him communicate with his family, you watch him communicate with a new stranger, you watch him communicate with his old friends that he's had ever since, or ever, like, his close friends that he has, and he's just such a damn good dude. And the way he communicates and the way he brings energy to the people around him and just powers through any freaking challenge that he finds himself in. Just be really damn careful who you hire. Because there's people that like you're saying, show an online persona, showing online that this is who they are. And they have the cars, they have a lot of good things in life, but they're fucking 5 times divorced and fighting with their wife every single day that they have now. And I'm not saying that people don't have flaws. I mean, Keaton's human too. You know, we're all fucking human, but at the end of the day, then find somebody that has the life that you want before you hire them as a mentor.
For sure.
There's a lot of asshole mentors.
No, seriously.
I'm sure there is.
When they get on their internal calls and their own, when it's just their small group or whatever, they turn into assholes. Find somebody that's not going to be an asshole when the door's closed.
So I guess I kind of like, we got into podcasting because I like learning about business and learning about, like, where people came from and how their mind really works. But I now, like, treat the podcast as a form of mentorship. Like, everyone we get on, like, I'm learning something new, or like learning a different aspect of what they do well. And I'm taking that full on, just, you know, picking their brain. What made you get into podcasting?
A lot of the same things.
Yeah.
You can have an hour conversation or a couple hour conversation with somebody about and go deep on a topic.
Yeah.
And then also to share my message. I have a message to give to the world, you know, and and that's like even taking an opportunity like to come on a podcast like this. It's another opportunity to share a message. And like Jen Gauntly, I think that's how you say her last name. I've always said Gauntly.
Yeah.
But Jen Gauntly on stage yesterday, she has this metaphor that she says, help one person every day.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with my podcast. If there's somebody that can take something from just one person from a podcast that they listen to it that day and they're like, fuck, you know, I'm gonna get up and go to the gym, or you know, I'm gonna text my friend I haven't talked to in 2 years and just let him know how much I appreciate him, and that helps somebody.
Yeah.
Why would I not?
Yeah.
Right? And I'm telling, like you guys were telling me earlier, you guys are doing your own editing and stuff, and you're just starting it, and it's starting it from nothing. Which, dude, kudos to you guys.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I mean, just your podcast alone is a form of entrepreneurship.
Right.
I'm learning so much with it. But for me, I mean, I invest not only a shitload of my time, I invest a shitload into my camera gear, into all my shit, and then into my editor. I pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month just to run my podcast. I make no money. I have no sponsors, and I'm learning on how to get my message out there. But with my podcast, that's what it's been for me, is not only a way for me to learn for other people, but the way for my audience to learn from other people, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I got Keaton on the other day. That helped all those people that were also on with, that could listen to the conversation that I had between Keaton. You know, it's not just my mentorship. It's also, just like I was saying, it's free mentorship for people around you. So
Yeah, for sure.
that's a lot that same thing. And like I say, I have a message to share. I mean, I've achieved some success in business, not close to where I'm going, but there's things that I can share with people around me that it's going to help their life, that maybe their life is in shambles, and they are just bought a freaking lawnmower and they're just mowing lawns right now, and they want to know how to take their lawnmower business to more than doing $50,000 a year, whatever it is.
How do you 10x it, right?
Yeah. Or they are just fat and lazy, and they want to change, spin their life around, you know?
Yeah.
And so if I can help somebody with my podcast, that's the main reason why I'm podcasting too. So
I love that. That's exactly where we started. We wanted to show nobody. We keep having this conversation. Like, you can count on one hand the amount of people that you really see that come out of our state. Our representation in Maine is not too big, and like we know all the people that came out, because it's like when somebody makes it out of Maine, it's like
the whole state has your back.
It's like a rally around those people. Like, I don't know if you watch basketball, but Cooper Flagg, he's the #1 high school basketball player in the nation right now. He's going to Duke University, but he's from Maine. We don't see people like that. So like, we won't. The idea when we started this was to like bring people along with us and show them, like, we fucking didn't know anything. We didn't know how to do any of this shit, and just jump into it, and you can do your own shit. Like, there's no limits to your location. It's about what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's 100%. And I would say, to mirror off that's the same thing from the cold I came from.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Somebody makes success out of there, and there's a lot of successful people actually out of there that have chosen, instead of taking a victim side, then to go transform their life. But when somebody makes it to great success out there, then there's obviously haters all over the place.
Absolutely.
Like, fuck you, you know, I went to high school with that guy and he fucking stole my girlfriend or whatever. but no, like, I'm that way for sure from my community. So I think that's awesome. And to see people that leave and make a success and go out there, and that's what I would say, even like you guys, like, fuck the haters, man.
Yeah.
Fuck the haters. Go chase it, whatever the fuck you want.
Andy Elliott said that.
Andy Elliott, when we talked to him.
We had a 15-minute conversation with him. Oh, my Lord. The intensity in his eyes. I love
He's fucking awesome.
But he was basically, I was like, dude, it's kind of cool, like, being in a room, like, everyone just wants, it seems like everyone wants you to be successful. And he goes, no, I live for the ones that don't want me to be successful. And he's like, that fuels me. And, like, everything I post, Like, fuck the haters. You're the one. I'm taking up your time. You're watching my shit. Like you're actually in a way supporting me, but fuck you.
Yeah.
Keep making the hate comments. You know?
Yeah, he said the haters feed my algorithm. That's what he said.
Yeah. Which I love.
Dude, I love that guy. I just barely joined his inner circle mentor. Like all his really close knit, and that's 100% where I've got so much of my attitude around it. Like, just chase it. Just chase it. If you have a dream to fucking have the next School of Greatness podcast or whatever it is, the next big podcast where you learn so much.
Yeah.
Your life levels up. Everything around you levels up. Chase it.
Yeah. Right. All right, we might have to wrap it up. We're getting hailed on. You want to shout out your podcast?
Yeah.
Well, we'll put it in the bio, but.
Yeah, find me at Freddy J Show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And follow me on Instagram. It's official Freddy Johnson on Instagram. And yeah, thanks for having me on the podcast.
Dude, thanks for coming on. We're looking forward to seeing your stuff, man.
That was awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. Cool. Fucking hail it.